Crazy. Hey, I'm Skip Alsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And sometimes I forget to turn off my computer that I use to monitor, make sure things are going okay. Yeah, I hope everybody had a great weekend. We did Greg Pierce and I from Oregon. And I couldn't get him on screen. Like, I tried to get him, but he was, like, caught up in something. Anyways, he brought a bunch of films, probably brought us close to 500 films that we are scanning and we are showing. The ones that we can show. There are some that are a little sketchy, so we're not going to show those. So what we saw just now was this film called Language, and it was A/B rolls, so it was silent. And so what you saw were footage, then slug. The slug was the black part, and what you would do is you would line up in the optical printer the A roll and the B roll, so that if there was slug on the A roll, then the B roll would shine through, etc. And so that's how that works. All right, this film starts off kind of happy and whimsical, and then it goes dark. It's Conformity and Independence. Enjoy.
We are all individuals, but we live in a world with other people, and we must often accommodate to them. To what extent can we remain individuals in a social world? What kinds of pressures do others exert on us to conform? And how do we deal with such pressures? How can social psychology study the issues of independence and conformity? This ordinary street scene is actually an experiment in social influence. The experimenters wanted to see whether the proportion of passers-by who imitated a crowd would increase with the size of the crowd. And so they set up groups ranging from 1 to 15 people standing in the street looking up. As they increased the size of the initial crowd, they found that the proportion of passers-by who imitated the looking up response also increased. This is one in a series of experiments we shall examine in this film that show how our behavior is influenced by others. Experiments in Conformity and Independence. By conformity, we mean behavior in which a person adopts the attitudes and actions of those around him, not because the behavior has any special merit, but because he feels that others expect him to act as they do. The study of conformity is as old as social psychology itself. Aristotle told us that man is a social animal. But what does it mean to be social, if not that each person must accommodate himself to others? Yet conformity may also mean the suppression of individual initiative and creativity under stifling social pressures. In this film, we shall consider such questions as, how can we study conformity in a scientific way? What are the conditions that lead to conformity and those that lead to independence of group pressure? We will ask whether conformity and independence are limited to trivial things or whether they extend to matters of consequence. Do people differ in their capacity for conformity and independence? And finally, what are the scientific theories of independence and conformity? Conformity affects the person, even if he is not aware of it. Social psychologist Stanley Milgram explains it this way.
I have to go every 5 minutes. People like to think of themselves as free, independent creatures, unfettered by rules or social constraints. But in fact, we're always governed by social constraints, as in a situation of this sort in the restaurant. Now, we've all moved into a situation, come into a situation where we're very uneasy until we learn what the proper rules of behavior are. Often we observe others and we imitate them in order to behave properly. But these rules are more than just disembodied guides to behavior. They're what social psychologists call norms. And one of the properties of norms is that we feel keenly a pressure to comply with them.
Now, in this restaurant, the norms pertain to a particular social class. But every group, no matter what its status, a bowling club, a teenage gang, a work crew in a factory, has a set of standards members feel they must comply with. One of the main problems for social psychology is how we can observe and measure the formation and effect of social norms. In 1937, Muzaffar Sharif reported a classic experiment in norm formation. When a dot of light is projected onto a screen in a darkened room, after a time the light appears to wander. This is a purely subjective effect since the light is actually stationary.
7.5 inches.
Different people perceive different amounts of movement of the light.
7.5.
The first step in Sharif's experiment is to determine the average amount of movement that each subject perceives.
1.25 inches.
4.25 inches.
Then he brings the individuals together in a group, and they make new judgments in the presence of each other.
6.25 inches.
Sharif found that there is a striking convergence of judgments in the course of the laboratory sessions.
5 inches.
5 inches.
5 inches.
Even after the subject has left the group and is retested alone, his judgments continue to reflect the group influence. Sharif's experiment allows us to observe and to measure the formation of a group norm. And Sharif believes that the same kind of process occurs in the larger world. Take any group of people, isolate them from others, and let them interact. Soon they will evolve a common frame of reference that exerts an important influence on how each person thinks and behaves. For the social psychologist, the street is as good a place as any to study social influence. Blake, Mouton, and Hain conducted a field experiment on signing a petition. They showed that you can increase the chances that someone will sign the petition if he has seen someone else sign it. And this works especially well if the model is a person with high status.
What's it for?
Cotton candy.
It says we, the undersigned, petition the City Council to allow the sale of cotton candy on municipal streets during business hours.
Looking Up, the restaurant, the Sharif experiment, are all instances of social influence that fall within the range of everyday behavior. But just how powerful is the pressure to conform? What are its limits?
In 1937, when Sharif conducted his experiment, he said that you would get the kind of convergence he observed only in an ambiguous situation, and that you would never get compliance with a group when there was no ambiguity in the situation, when the group was giving answers that were obviously wrong. In 1937, most social psychologists agreed with this analysis, and most people would agree with it now. Let's ask them. Sir, I'd like to ask you a simple question. Suppose you were in an experiment, and the experimenter told you that what you had to do was to indicate which of these 3 lines is closest in length to this line. All right? 1, 2, or 3. Now, suppose you were in with a group of other people, and the first person in the group said, number 1 is equal in length to that. The second person said, yeah, number 1. The third person in the group said, yes, number 1 is equal in length to that. And now it's your turn to answer. What would you say?
Number 2.
You would say number 2. Why would you say number 2 is?
I would say number 2 is because it appears to me, regardless of what other people say, to be nearest in length.
What would you say in that situation?
Number 2. Number 2, sure.
Can you conceive of any circumstance in which you would go along with the group?
Regardless of what the others say.
Even if
I still stick to number 2.
even if all...
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white T-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2. 2.
2,
2.
2, 3,
3. 3.
3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2,
2. 2.
2,
2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
1.
Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1. They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1.
1.
1.
2.
1. 2. 2.
2.
I know they're wrong, but why
2.
should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing
2.
with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2.
2.
2.
2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Asch gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1.
1. 2.
1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Asch. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1.
1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Asch's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
2.
In Richard Crutchfield's variation of the Asch experiment, subjects see the stimulus material flashed onto a screen. In this case, the stimulus is an opinion they can approve or disapprove of by pressing buttons which presumably light up their answers in front of all the other subjects. The trick is that each subject thinks he is the last to answer. But in reality, the experimenter controls all of the answer boxes and feeds the subject false information as to how the others have answered.
I had a very close relationship with my family, but over the last couple of years, since Larry and I have been a couple, it's become strained. My mother is a congresswoman on the West Coast, but she grew up in Pennsylvania, and she's very influenced by Eastern credentials. And Larry went to Princeton, and These are things that she would normally like in anyone, except for Larry's black.
Richard Willis points out that there is a difference between independence and anti-conformity.
I think my problems come from friends as opposed to family. Because Heidi's friends, her white, hip type friends, no offense, but that's what they are. I think it's really almost glamorous to be biracial. But to black people, it's not that glamorous a thing. In fact, we've had a lot of pressure from it. For instance, I was working at a radio station once, and I went to see a friend of mine do a show. And there were 5 or 6 people in the studio that I'd gotten along fairly well with. But because there were so many of them and one of me, I guess they decided to take out all of their animosities toward me, and it got pretty heavy for a while. And I was pushed into the position of defending myself, which I generally don't like to do. I don't think it's necessary. But
in anti-conformity, we react against what a group is doing, but the group still serves as the frame of reference for our response. In true independence, we act out of our own needs and perceptions, and we neither yield to the group, nor are we locked into responding against it.
Out of that, and this is the woman that I'm in love with, and she loves me, and there's no reason why that personal thing has to give way to a societal thing that doesn't really affect us, because we have to make decisions for ourselves.
Conformity is too broad a word to cover all types of social influence. Herbert Kellman points out that when a person goes along with a group, he may be doing a number of different things.
Okay, now we come to a very important part of the evening. Very important part of the evening, the pledge. Will those regular members who want to renew their pledge not to smoke during the coming week please indicate by raising their hands? Very good. And who among the new members will pledge not to smoke during the coming week?
He points to 3 different underlying psychological processes: internalization, compliance, and identification.
Very good. Thank you.
In internalization, the person accepts the influence because it fits in with his own needs and values. The adopted behavior persists even when the person is not being watched by the group. Compliance is more superficial. The adopted behavior is maintained only under the surveillance of the group. The person went along with the group not because he believed in what the group was saying, but because he wanted to achieve a favorable reaction from the group. Identification is the 3rd process. Here, the employee with the cigar is telling the other man he will soon inherit his position in the firm. The other man identifies himself with the new role and the mannerisms of his boss. In identification, we adopt some behavior because it helps us define who we are. The experiments by Sharif and Ash have sometimes been criticized because the actions induced by the group may appear trivial. In 1963, Milgram reported an experiment that tried to answer this criticism. 4 people come to a laboratory to take part in a study on the effect of punishment in learning. They draw slips from a hat which gives each of them a different role in the experiment. The man with the mustache will administer electric shocks. He is the only real subject. The others are Confederates. He is the learner and will appear to receive electric shocks whenever he makes an error on his lesson. The shocks may vary from 15 to 450 volts. The experimenter explains that the shock actually used is to be the lowest shock level suggested by any of the 3 teachers on each trial.
Blue, boy, girl, grass, hat.
Incorrect. The correct answer is blue girl.
Incorrect answer.
As I mentioned earlier, you 3 must decide the punishment to be administered.
Let's try 15 volts.
Okay, 15 volts.
15 volts.
The two Confederates raised the shock level one step on each trial. The subject can hold down the shocks to 15 volts, or he can be influenced by the others.
Let's try 165 volts.
165, okay.
I think that's too much.
The punishment administered will be the lowest level suggested by any of you three.
I'll keep it down to 150.
About a quarter of the subjects resist the group and hold the shock to the lowest levels on the generator. Half the subjects are somewhat influenced and hold the shock to intermediate levels. Another quarter completely capitulates to the group. So group pressure is not effective only when the actions are trivial. History teaches us that ordinary men are propelled into acts of great heroism by groups, but that they may also act callously as they capitulate to group forces.
375.
375.
White. Cloud, horse, rock, house.
Incorrect. The correct answer is white horse.
450.
450 volts.
$450.
The study of conformity isn't limited to the United States. It takes place in university centers around the world. One of the most challenging analyses has been stated by Serge Moscovici, a leading French social psychologist. Professor Moscovici believes that in America we have concentrated too much on how the group controls the individual, and we have not looked enough at how the lone individual can come to change the views of a majority.
Let's say that most of the studies in social influence study social control. And what I propose to study is social change. Most of the studies are geared toward conformity, and what I propose to study is innovation. A deviant minority can change a majority by stating its opinion forcefully. In other words, numbers and power are not decisive factors in influence, but behavioral style, the way of expressing oneself, it's a decisive factor.
So we have looked at conformity in field experiments and laboratory, but certain things we can only know through our own experience. We feel superior to those who give in to group pressure, but how would each of us face up to pressures to conform? Are you truly as independent as you like to think? Stanley Milgram suggests an experiment that you can carry out to test your mettle.
It's a very simple experiment. All you need to do is get on a local bus, and after you are seated, sing out your very favorite song loud and clear. After all, there's nothing wrong with singing. To my suggestion, you are probably saying, so what, anybody can do that. Or, I don't have to do that, I know I'm an individualist, I'm no conformist. Or, this is silly, it doesn't change the world to sing on a bus. To all these comments, I have only one reply. Get on the bus and sing. Frankly, I'm not sure whether you will fill the bus with music or remain timidly silent in your seat. But in carrying out this experiment, you will gain a more personal insight into the meaning of conformity and of the pressures to conform in our day-to-day world.
So yeah, the studies of Milgram and Zimbardo, who did the Stanford prison experiment, were called into question. And there was some sloppy research, but I still think there's something to pull from it and see, especially Zimbardo reflecting on what happened and how he actually became part of the experiment in a way that he didn't realize. It's kind of interesting. This next film is coincidentally, it's related, but it's not related. It's really weird, and I'm still trying to get. I watched parts of it, and I'm like, what? So this is called Man's Confidence in Man. What do you think it's about? Just kind of say in the comments now. Man's Confidence in Man. It is not a science film. So what is it? Man's Confidence in Man. Let's find out together. It's a little spicy at the beginning, but here we go.
Well, good morning, ma'am. I'll bet you're going fishing up to Mill Pond.
I was fishing at Mill Pond until I snagged my hook.
Got a bite, and you gave it a big pull.
Yeah, and when my line came up, the hook was gone.
Well, you can't catch fish without a hook, that's sure.
Have you got a new hook?
Depends on the size. There's bass, carp, whitefish, perch, maybe bluegills. After bluegills?
Yes, sir. Got one that size?
Maybe yes, maybe no. Ah, here's one. Well,
Geez, well.
better be careful of this, at least till I get some more next week.
How much, Mr. Foster?
That'd be exactly 1 big penny.
Where do you get your hooks, Mr. Foster?
Why, I buy them from the wholesaler.
And he makes them?
Well, not exactly. He just hands them for stores like this, only in quantities. Thank you.
Who does make them, Mr. Foster?
The manufacturer and others. And it goes back a long way.
Yes, sir. A real long way. Clear back to the Mesabi Range in Minnesota. Tommy's fishhook in there, although a little hard to recognize. In your mind's eye, you can see Tommy's fishhook here. Together, jeeps, bridges, skyscraper skeletons. Gunhook goes through refinement. First to furnace. Then, in the open hearth where the metal flows down a fiery flume. Out of the soaking pit comes the steel ingot, strong in its purity. An awful big chunk of metal for just fishhook, to be sure. But that's not all. Here in the rolling mill, we begin to separate the bridges, skyscrapers, refrigerators, plows, guns, and carving knives, Tommy's fishhook. Now we can forget about motor cars and rails and girders and all the rest. Now we're working for Tommy. For 1 million Tommies all over America who like to fish and who expect to get fishhooks when they want them. Yes, we had to reach back a long way for that hook to half a dozen states, a score of industries, and 100 skills and crafts. And yet, Tommy's penny was the only cash transaction from the iron mine to the fish line. How was this possible? Well, let's go back again. All you see is men at work, working wages that raise families. But look closer, with understanding, and you will see the evidence of an amiable, invisible servant, credit. The vital power by which men and nations exchange goods and services. An action stimulated and kept strong by confidence shown and promises fulfilled. And this friendly phantom works for every one of us, every day of our lives, if we treat him fairly and keep our word. You recognize him quickly in some of his more familiar services.
Sunday morning in church, everybody will be saying those 2 Halpin boys, Timmy and Tommy, are the best dressed boys in...
Yeah, and in 6 months, they'll have outgrown them. They're shooting up like a couple of weeds.
Sure, I know. But it's good for you and it's good for me. Okay, boys, you can take them off now. Shall I charge it?
Well, How do I stand?
As if I'd ask if I didn't know. Just a small balance. Like I always say, let me have lots of customers like the helping.
Okay.
Of course, that sounded familiar. Here's another example.
I'm expecting some nice chickens in, Mrs. Halpin. Shall I save 2 good-sized broilers for you?
Why, yes. For Sunday, that'll be fine. Say, Mr. Hargraves, the boys are with their father. Would you please help me with these?
Why, of course. I'll put your charge slip right in this bag here.
Sure, you're familiar with it. And credit often enters our lives early because credit principles are part of our early experience, character training, and personal ambition. Timmy Halpin, older brother of the fisherman we met, has a problem, a deep and perplexing problem.
Something I can do for you, my lad?
Well, sir, I'd like to rent a lawnmower.
Well, that's easy. Just 50 cents a day and a $5 deposit. You get that back as soon as you return the mower. Here, let me give you a tip. Take that one. I just sharpened it and it runs 5.
That's swell. But there's just one thing.
Oh? What's that?
Well, I haven't got the money.
No money. Well, that is a problem.
But I can pay you tomorrow.
Is that so? How?
Well, I've got 3 jobs that'll pay $1.50 each for today and tomorrow. I thought maybe if I could pay you after I got paid.
Uh-oh. Trying to swing a deal, eh?
Huh? A deal?
Sure, I know. What you want is credit till closing time tomorrow. Isn't that it?
I guess so. Anyway, Mr. Foster, I'll pay you. Honestly, I will.
What back in good shape?
I promise, Mr. I'll look out for Stone.
Yes, that's easy said now. Look, you seem to know me. Do I know you? What's your name?
Timmy Halpin. Timothy Halpin. My dad bought my brother.
Halpin. Your father is chief clerk in the quarry?
Yes, sir, that's right.
And doesn't he umpire in the county baseball league?
Yes, sir, that's my dad, all right.
I know him. But there's one thing more.
Gee, what?
And I know you can handle the 3 jobs today and tomorrow. That's hard work. Here, let me feel your muscles. Well, say, you are strong. Yeah, I'd say you could handle the jobs all right.
Then it's a deal, isn't it, Mr. Foster? I'll be careful and oil the mower after each job, and I'll be back and pay you before closing time tomorrow night.
Okay, son, you're in business. I'll live up to my contract, and I expect you to do the same.
Gee, thanks.
Now, of course, Timmy is just a lad easing the family involved in that contract, just as real, just as binding, and just as beneficial to both parties as if it were big business involving thousands of dollars. Certainly, it is a credit obligation assumed with all seriousness by Timmy, full consideration of the facts by Mr. Foster. But credit isn't a one-way street. Those who give also receive.
Well, let's see now. Cut your note down to $500 and renew the balance for 90 days.
That's right, Mr. Haskins.
Is that the best you can do now, Foster?
Well, matter of fact, it isn't. But this is one of my heaviest buying periods. And two, I still owe the doctor a few dollars I'd like to clean up.
Oh, yes. How is Mrs. Foster?
It was a mighty close call, but she's been making real progress.
I'm very glad to hear it. Well, the $500 is okay for renewal, of course.
Thank you. I'll try to clean it all up before the year's over, even sooner.
Now, just a moment. Not so fast, Foster. We've got to keep our money working, or I don't get paid. Cash in our vault doesn't earn anybody a living. It's the money on the job, away from the bank, that makes a profit. For us and for you, too.
Credit is as old as man's confidence in man. Down through the ages, it has offered its services to buyer and seller. In our own America, credit was a vital power in building prosperity, even before there was a convenient and stabilized monetary exchange. A cash transaction is confined to value for value received and even exchanged. But credit is much more, because credit ties in faith in the future with the present. There's a promise to perform and a mutual obligation for 30, 60, 90 days, or even longer.
Hello, Joe. Hi, Sam.
Well, here you are. A bundle of pelts are brought down from the North Country. I was kind of hoping maybe you'd take all of them. What are they worth to you?
Well, to be frank, they ought to bring about 2 shillings apiece, dressed in Philadelphia. I reckon we can make a deal for all of them. That is, if you take payment in trade goods.
Suits me. What good's money trading with the Indians?
Suppose we make up the value in cooking pots, knives, beads, red cloth, and a few traps. Same as on your previous trip?
Well, I can't take many pots and pans on horseback. I reckon you better work out the trade mostly in needles and pins, beads, threads, stuff I can carry in the saddlebag.
Why don't you take along a pack horse and make yourself some real money?
It takes money to make money. I'm worth what those skins are worth, nothing more.
How long you been dealing with the Indians?
Since the British and the Tories left, nigh on to 10 years.
You managed to get along pretty well with them? No trouble?
Well, sure I get along with them. It's easy. I treat them square, and they bring me their best pelts. I live with them when I'm in their country, and I don't deal in firewater.
Some say you can't trust Indians. Say they'll turn on you like as not.
I never found it so. They look forward to my coming. But the squaws call me the needle man. Steel's better than fish bones for stitching up deerskin.
Sam, how about me staking you to a pack horse and a full load of merchandise?
You mean you trust me?
I ain't the charitable kind, Sam. I'm in business to make a profit. And I can't get a profit from stock on the shelves gathering dust. You sell the stuff and we'll both profit.
Well, what about the extra horse after I get rid of the load? He'll eat up most of my profits.
Bring him back loaded with pelts. He'll carry 3 times as much as your riding horse. And if worse comes to worse, sell him. He's worth more up north than here.
I'll be gone likely 6 months, Joe. Can you wait that long to get your money back?
We'll calculate the profit to make it worth the wait.
Well, still, you're taking a chance.
A risk, yes, but a chance, no. There's a difference. A risk you figure and make it worthwhile. Chance is blind gambling. I don't gamble.
Well, thanks for trusting me.
Take my own judgment alone, Sam. A lot of people speak well of you. I know I had a load for you.
It's a deal.
I'll tally up the stuff and give you a copy of the list.
Say, I was thinking we ought to make $200 this trip if all goes well.
200 this trip, 500 next trip.
Huh?
With 3 horses and another man helping you.
Hey!
Thus, even in the days when pelts were bartered for needles and beads, pots and pans, credit was the mainspring of trade and prosperity. Credit confidence based on reliable information sheds light on the nature of the risk involved and the reward to be expected. Then the flow of trade surged westward in increasing volume across the Cumberland Trail and the Erie Canal to the Central Plains. Men and families sought new frontiers, new homes in the rich farmland bordered by the Great Lakes, the Ohio, and the Mississippi. Meeting the needs of these pioneers, hundreds or even 1,000 miles away, offered new trade opportunities and at the same time posed grave problems. In 1837, the sudden demand by President Jackson for cash payments for the purchase of government lands caused a money shortage which led to an eventual paralysis of business. Firms were unable to collect their inland accounts, and many were forced to ask extensions from their creditors. Among them was Tappan and Company, large wholesale and retail dealers in dry goods located in New York. In 1841 in New York City, a group of the country's most prominent merchants gathered to face the situation. The need was plain. There must be some means of obtaining dependable credit information as the basis on which to build trading confidence. But how?
In my father's time, we traded within 100 miles of the coast. He knew the men he was dealing with, knew them personally, how able they were, and how much you could depend upon them to live up to their words.
Those days are past. Now you're asked to load a wagon or a canal boat with merchandise for somebody you never heard of. Some as far away as Cincinnati or St. Louis. It's bad enough to get paid with their high discount paper and lose your profit. Even worse, 6 months or a year later, you may learn that the trader has flown the coop or is operating under another name and lose your capital, too. I'd rather have shorter terms, smaller profits from people I know.
The need is there. People in new settlements and growing cities want merchandise. They pay well for what they get, and we can't ignore them. There must be some way of picking the honest country traders and jobbers.
How? Who can pick the sheep from the goats? I ask you, is it worth it?
Ask Louis Tappan. A few years ago, the Tappans could have written their note for $1 million, but they were nearly wiped out by bad credit risks in our brave new land of opportunity.
Yes, but I hear they've recovered much of their losses.
I'll say this for the Tappans. They took the blow all by themselves, paid off every one of their creditors. Arthur's back in the silk business, and Louis has got some new wrinkle which we shall hear about present.
They've got plenty of gumption, there's no denying. A.T. Stewart thinks highly of Louis Tappan's financial and credit judgment.
Stewart is as tough as steel, but a reasonable and far-seeing man for all that.
Very well, gentlemen, shall we get down to business? I shan't waste time on preliminaries. We're all faced with the same problem. Our country is a victim of growing pains. My brother and I have had our share of aches from what occurred beyond the Blue Ridge. So have others here. But I am full of hope and confidence. Beyond the horizon, a great new land is building. Hundreds of thousands of our people have already gone west. Others will follow. They need our coastal merchants of Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore as suppliers. We need them as customers and consumers of our goods.
And go broke extending credit to irresponsible country merchants. Unless I know them, I don't sell them.
I think I can appreciate the irony of that comment better than most of you in this room. Yet I still say to you that the fault does not lie in credit, but rather in its abuse, due to faulty information or lack of any information on which credit risks are accepted. The calculated risk depends on the light thrown on the hazard.
Anyone who ships on terms beyond the Appalachians is no merchant. He's a gambler. I hear of hundreds of new traders in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, but I'm not shipping them unless I know them to be capable, dependable merchants.
That's my point. Each of us knows only a small number of the new businesses that are coming into being in the Western Territory, but among us all, we can set up a working program of credit responsibility that will enable the worthy trader to get his goods promptly without a lot of wasted time over references, half of which are fraudulent or meaningless.
What are you trying to say?
Simply this. Confidence is the life-giving power of credit, and we are wasting its force. Each of us is stumbling along in the dark, guided by the feeble candle of his own individual experience, when we should be combining and sharing our united knowledge to drive out ignorance and chance. Credit flourishes in light and withers in darkness.
Before you say any more, I want you to know that my credit files represent a considerable investment in effort and expense. I consider them strictly confidential.
Suppose I were to offer to hold your files and my files and say Stewart's in joint confidence.
Who'll guard your files? The militia?
One moment, gentlemen. What we need here is confidence in each other, not suspicion.
My customers would resent prying into their affairs, Tappan.
Not when they find they get their goods delivered quicker. They'll soon come to a realization that credit moves faster on facts than on fear.
You mean you would rely on our ledger experience only?
Indeed not. It is my plan to appoint confidential agents in the principal communities of 14 states, covering the main trading centers of the whole nation. These agents would be the highest type men we can attract, with sound business perception and high integrity.
And what will they do?
They'll make a list of local traders, make note of new enterprises, withdrawals, and failures. They'll indicate the credit worthiness of local merchants, with some appraisal of character and capital.
That sounds reasonable to me, if it can be done. I say it's fantastic. It's against human nature for competitors to join in such fool. Eastern merchants would avoid it like the plague.
Listen, Jim. I have the largest mercantile credit files in New York, probably greater than all of yours put together. If you will join with me, my files go to Tappan tomorrow for his mercantile agency.
You can count me in. Well, I'll string along. I've got to.
I've changed my mind. I'm for it. And I can send you the names of some good confidential correspondents in New England and towns along the Erie Canal.
Good. Excellent. Let's make a beginning right now.
And so in 1841, out of the commercial growing pains of a nation, was born the first mercantile agency, now better known as Dun & Bradstreet. It provided impartial credit reporting for the first time and offered a pattern of confidence which sparked a new life in the expanding Western trade. Paced by reliable business reporting, credit dollars moved out, building canals and railroads on European as well as American capital, developing raw materials, and creating centers of trade that grew into cities wherever the trails crossed. Syracuse, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis, Omaha, and Kansas City are monuments to the surge of a nation rolling westward on the wheels of trade. Wheels powered by credit dollars, minted of knowledge and backed by faith. Through the years, the power of credit became the greatest factor of progress and economic growth in the history of nations. This power is shown in big credit and small credit, personal and commercial credit, bank credit and government credit, long-term and short-term credit. It influences every phase of modern life. Today, more than a century after the beginning of impartial credit reporting, credit is more than ever the hidden sinews of commerce. But its processes are perhaps more easily understood in the sharp focus of a detailed example, like Mr. Foster replenishing his stock with an order to the wholesaler.
Say, Russ, here's an order from Foster Hardware. What's new on this fellow Foster? Pretty slow earlier this year, wasn't he?
That's right, Mr. Ferguson. But Hanlon says he's making headway now.
I seem to remember there was reason to watch him pretty carefully.
Here we are. He owed a balance of $66 on June 1st, but he cleaned up in July. Hasn't been on the books since then. He was running about a month slow last spring. Hasn't ordered in 2 months.
How long have we had the account?
Oh, as long as I've been here and before. Hanlon's called on Foster at least 10 years and likes him.
I see. Well, this is for $192. Better draw a Dun & Brad report on him.
Okay.
Just as simple as that. A mere matter of routine. But to furnish the credit manager with authentic credit information, confidentially, quickly, and surely, is something else. Not long afterward, Mr. Foster has a caller. In fact, he's had similar callers ever since he's been in business. Their faces may change from time to time, but the mission is always the same. Let's look in on part of this interview.
Morning, young fellow. What can I do for you?
Morning, Mr. Foster. I'm from Dun & Bradstreet.
Oh,
didn't you?
Yes. Turned to be a more serious operation than we'd thought. And expensive.
They usually are, but necessary.
Sure, they're necessary. But luxury, too, and the business has to pay the bill.
Oh, I guess it cut into your working capital, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid I've been a little slow, but I'm caught up now. Been current since August. Don't like to share my troubles with my suppliers.
I can see your point. Say, I noticed a slight change in the business name, Mr. Foster.
That's right. Took Bob into the business on September 30th. And from now on, we'll be buying under the new name.
You planning to retire?
Not yet a while. Oh, wife and I may take a couple of short trips, kind of get her perked up.
I see. Will your son Bob be drawing a straight salary?
A little, $40 a week, same as my clerk, Dave Morgan. I figure I'll have to do at least $10,000 to $12,000 a year more volume to carry the load, but Bob's grown up in this store. Worked around here after school and during summer vacations since he was a kid. He sure knows the business. What's more, he has some pretty good ideas. People around here know Bob and like him. And besides, he has good contacts with the local builders.
Mr. Foster, what courses did Bob take in college?
I always claimed he was majoring in muscle, won 3 varsity letters. Actually, though, he worked pretty hard. Business administration, merchandising and all. And he got good marks. Oh, he'll do all right. He's handy and he's got a knack for tools.
Sounds like he'll do all right. Incidentally, Mr. Foster, is your building all free and clear now?
No, we still owe the $2,000, same as last year.
You making any alterations or repairs?
Not till I clean up that $500 balance on the bank loan. Bob and Dave are at me to modernize the front, put in steel shelving and a paint mixer and pipe cutting department. Well, they'll come in due time, but I mean to pay for repairs and fixtures out of savings, not working capital.
Sounds like good sense. Say, Mr. Foster, do you happen to have a recent financial statement to show how you stand now?
Glad you reminded me. The accountant fixed one up last week. I've been tempted to mail it in, but I guess I forgot it. But one thing's sure. Down in Bradstreet won't let a fella forget. Not for long.
It is pretty important, isn't it?
Sure, I know. Nice to have ready cash in the till, but it's a whole lot better to have credit with your wholesaler. Believe me, I've found that out many times.
Say, you've done all right.
Thanks.
Nice profit, and you've kept it all in the business. By the way, how are your receivables? All current?
Well, I hope so.
And so the living story of a business, its prospects and its problems become the basis of a commercial report, interpreting the daily events in that commercial enterprise into terms of credit information.
Additional money was required. 2 years ago, Foster borrowed $3,000 from the bank, period, paragraph. This in itself would have caused no great financial strain, but his wife became ill the following spring, and Foster was due more than $1,000 above and over his regular salary to pay medical bills, period. This was reflected in slowness, up to 28 days, No, correction, 25 days, In the payment of trade bills, which first showed up in the fall of the year, period, paragraph. In the first 9 months this year, however, sales increased about 20% over those in the same period of last year. A larger profit was earned, period. The 9 months apostrophe, earnings of $2,585 were retained, semicolon. Working capital was increased by $2,600.
And that report will be influential wherever Mr. Foster requires testimony of his right to the confidence of others.
Mr. Ferguson, here's the report on Foster. I see he's taken his son into business with him.
Maybe that's good news and maybe not. How's Foster making out?
Looks like he's making a fast comeback. The bank loan's been cut to $500. Sales up 20% this year. Good profit, all retained in the business. They've been current with suppliers ever since August. Looks like they have their heads above water again.
Where's that Foster order?
I have it right here.
I guess Hanlon was right about Foster. The old man's got the stuff for an uphill battle. Just hope his son is made of the same metal.
And the story of Foster's hardware store is repeated with infinite variations, thousands of times a day all over the United States, because customers demand everything from fish hooks to refrigerators, from pins to pianos. Needs that must be served by retailer, jobber, wholesaler, and manufacturer, ranging in price from a penny to thousands of dollars. Needs that credit must serve. Some concerns grow large and prosper. Some stay small and prosper. But all render important and necessary services to the 150 million people in the United States. Just as there is a relationship between power and light, there is an affinity between the power of credit and the light of reliable facts. The light of confidence which credit investigation provides, signaling the transfer of credit power promptly and in good faith. Statistics, ratios, and discounts are important to the credit investigator, but even more important is the human equation. The daily round of the credit reporter is as long and varied as American business itself. He talks to them all, on Main Street from coast to coast in 53,000 communities. Then he checks and verifies every item of information to make his report accurate and complete. From cities, towns, and hamlets, these reports flow first to the local offices of Dun & Bradstreet, and then main reservoir in New York, where information on 2.5 million commercial and industrial businesses, large and small, is available in the same form as the report on Foster hardware. And because Mr. Foster's buying needs radiate in many directions for crockery, glass, paint, electrical goods, tools, and seeds, copies of the Foster report are available to suppliers in the territories where he makes his purchases. 150 Dun & Bradstreet Mercantile Agency offices serve the country through small offices as well as large. Remember how eagerly the wholesaler's credit manager scanned that Foster report? What was he looking for? What did it tell him? Well, the change in business name for one thing, the experience of the management, what they sell and how they sell it. Financial progress is reflected by the recent balance sheet, the story of that progress. Finally, direct payments to other suppliers. All this and more too is reflected in the improved credit rating change. And that change in Foster's name and the advance in his rating are just two years of credit. Those 6,000 business. Every 2 months, the huge Dun & Bradstreet reference book is revised. Names of manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers, both large and small, are added. Rating changes recorded and defunct concerns deleted. In all, 300,000 changes for the 60-day period. Every line in the reference book is the lead of a story often crammed with adventure, suspense, climaxed in success, or adversity. Yet each is but a chapter of an unfinished serial to be continued, as long as the enterprise remains in business. And behind our advancing civilization is the might of credit, the power that helps to process goods from raw materials to finished products for the Halpins and for 41 million other American families, supplying them with food, clothing, and other necessities and luxuries that establish the high level of the American standard of living. In Michigan and in every metropolis and crossroads of the nation, credit, the invisible and amiable servant, helps to move merchandise next door, a mile away, or across the continent. Credit has the power to do almost instantly what cash would need weeks or months to accomplish. Besides, there isn't enough cash in the entire country to keep our economic system in operation for as much as a single day. In scarcely more than a century and a half, the credit system of America has energized the mind and muscles of our people for the conquest of a continent and the development of its raw material resources. The speed with which America has grown to be the mightiest nation on earth has no parallel in history. The free flow of credit provides the pulse of power for our industry in peace or war, and fortifies our morale in times of political anxiety. American credit offers strength and hope to the peoples of the world whose liberties are endangered. The American credit system, as a symbol of free, competitive action, is a beacon of faith toward the future. For the credit of a nation, like the credit of its citizens, is based on character. Great men of all ages have recognized the boundless creative strength of credit. Commoners have risen to high places on its power, made kings and emperors do their bidding. Over a century ago, Daniel Webster said,
"Commercial credit is the creation of modern times and belongs in its highest perfection only to the most enlightened and best governed nations. Credit is the vital air of the system of modern commerce. It has done more, 1,000 times more, to enrich nations than all the mines in the world."
Oh, so it was a commercial for Dun and Bradstreet on Broad Street. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Or Broad and Dunn Street. What is it? I'll look it up. Dun and Bradstreet. So if I had looked at my own website, 16mm filmography, it would have told me that, but I didn't, because I wanted to show this to you. I knew it was somehow about credit, but I didn't know how it played out. But there you go. And I'm sorry, Kim Bride, today's show was not for you. Maybe tomorrow. Only one way to find out. Come on back and watch what we got set up. We have hundreds of films that were scanned last week, and we'll be sharing them with you. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. It was great to see you. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. You can donate via the Super Thanks, or go to patreon.com/abgeeks or ko-fi.com/abgeeks. All great ways to support us. Otherwise, so Twitch, the Twitch feed is still going. That is, if you can see it right there, twitch.tv/avgeeks. It's going on its 4th day, and yeah, without a hitch. But nobody watches Twitch, so it's kind of frustrating that it is there, and I'm not getting the cool feedback that I get when I do it on YouTube. But I dare not do it on YouTube again because I have a community standards warning that it will expire in September, and if I get another one, then they would probably cancel the channel. So I'm going to wait until that other one expires, and I'm going to re-examine what's going on. But yeah, keep watching on Twitch if you wish. A lot of stuff there, commercials, a lot of stuff in the Prelinger archive, a lot of our stuff. So thanks. See everybody soon. Take care.